you. And anything else that you saw in my biomarkers that you think I should be focusing on changing? Like, what do you recommend to your patient?
Well, one thing I saw in you, you have thyroid antibodies,
Yes.
which they probably mentioned to you. So there's 67 of them. It used to not be allowed to have more than 9. They changed that number. So that's the other problem with the medical world. They changed the biomarkers to match their system. So you have 67. In my opinion, you shouldn't have any, but you have them, but you have a thyroid conversion issue. So your body is not converting T4 to the active form of T3. So that could play part of maybe some of the liver congestion I talked about. It probably could be fixed with that, or the cellular inflammation. Like once you get that down, the thyroid conversion issue will be gone.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of symptoms come from that, right? So it's just hard. Like once you get rid of these things one by one, you'll realize like, wow, I don't feel it anymore. So I always recommend to everybody write down all your symptoms, because you go a year from now, like remember like kids would have that thing, you bury it in the backyard, like right in a box, and a year later you pull the box up. Same thing. If you write all these symptoms down and just bury it for a year and then look a year later and go and follow these guiding light and these markers and how to correct them, I bet you a year from now, you're gonna have a totally different story.
Yes. When I look back, I am already healing, every day, every month, I feel better and less anxious and all those things. So I know I'm going to the right direction, but it's interesting how like you don't know what to do, like you hire a functional medicine doctor, your health coach, you study, you test everything, and it's still like there are questions that you need answers to.
Right. That's right. Well, that's when I went to the old world doctors and say, what were they saying? Because these new doctors are all, the model is medication. So a symptom-based model that applies a medication. Like I didn't want that model. So I had to go back 100 years and be like, what were they saying then before medication came on the market? So that's where I found a lot of answers.
And when was the last time you had an MRI done?
I had MRI done in 2021 because I was in a car accident.
Mm.
So I never wanted to have MRI done of my brain because I knew I was healed, but I just didn't want the thought in my head I wasn't. So I never got one. But I had to get one in 2021. So they weren't looking for MS, but they also didn't see anything. So the lesions I had weren't there. And it was a normal MRI, brain MRI.
That's amazing. Are you planning to get an MRI just for MS anytime in the future, just to get a confirmation, or it doesn't matter?
I don't need it because honestly, I haven't had a flare up in 10 years. So, and that MRI, which I had to have, came up normal for my age. So to me, if it was abnormal, they would say there's something abnormal in your brain. They have to tell you something. They do the report of the MRI. So there's plenty wrong in my back. There's a lot of herniated discs, but there was nothing wrong in my brain.
Mm.
So, and I don't have any positive tests anymore. I used to do like Lamet's tests, all orthopedic tests for MS. I'm not positive on any of them anymore.
What do you consider a flare-up?
Well, for me, it used to be I would be extremely tired. My speech would slur. My right eye would droop. It would start out closed, and they told me we'll never open. And it started to open, but it would droop. So if I was tired, my right eye would droop. So everybody knew when I was tired because my right eye would drop. So that was like a flare up. I would have just different sensations in my body, like we all have. So like that would be my flare up.
Mm.
But I have none of that. Like I've been living unlimited life for 10 years now, hiking, biking, walking far, all the things, camping. So I do everything, except when I had my accident. It's been 2 years of healing from that. That's like my second story now, healing from that car accident. So my life kind of took a pause for 2 years, but I'm coming out of that also. So I'm hoping that soon I'll be doing everything again.
Mm. Do you have a doctor? Do you have a neurologist, or you are your own doctor?
Yeah, I don't have a neurologist only because honestly, I didn't I didn't feel the two neurologists I went to gave me good answers. And I was back at neurologist for the accident. I went to two neurologists for the accident, and they didn't have a good answer for me either. So I was like, you know what? I'm just wasting money. So I just stay out of the medical world. That's like my goal, is to stay out of the medical world, honestly. Unless I need them, I'm gonna go in. And they're great. Like I said, when you need them, they're amazing. But like if I don't need them, I don't want to step into that realm just because I don't want to be characterized or whatever. Like they find it hard to believe that somebody at 54 is on medication. They found it hard to believe at 40 I was on medication. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm going to be 85 and on a medication. So it's like, I don't fit their model.
Yes, yes. Do
Um,
you have any success stories other than yours that you healed yourself?
Yeah, so Sarah, who works for me, she's my assistant. She had MS also. She was diagnosed at 18. Different set of underlying root causes, but she's also living a limitless life now. It's reversed. So she was my patient first. Now she works for me. Also, I have a patient who had she had thyroid issues, and like her family flew her all over the country to the best doctors, right? So when her dad actually heard about me, he said, you have to go see her. And she was fed up with doctors. She's like, I'm not going to another doctor. I don't want to hear from another doctor. I'm not going. So he's like, okay. So what he did was he made an appointment with me. So I did a functional blood chemistry analysis on him. She came to listen, like, what am I going to say? So by the end of the, she sat in the corner of the room. She'll laugh if she ever sees this. Like, she sat in the corner of my office on her phone. She wouldn't even look at me. But I kept talking, and she's all of a sudden she picked her head up, and then I kept talking, and she was interested. So by the time we were done with the visit, her and her mom both like, can we get our blood analysis done? And they've been patient now for 8 years. But she had thyroid immunity and no one found it. So
Mm.
it totally changed her life. And she has 3 kids now. She got married, like her whole life changed, which is amazing because she lost weight too. She had weight loss resistance, all the symptoms everybody has. So it just changes everybody's life.
How can you help as many people as possible? Because I know that's your goal.
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, I ask everybody to go to my website because they can read my story. They can read about the functional blood chemistry analysis. Um, I can post more information about that. Like I have a flyer I hand out to people of why it's different from blood work. Because so many people say my blood work's normal. Like they hear blood work, and no, it was normal. And they don't even want to like give me the time of day. I'm like, no, just trust me with this. Like let's just see what we find. And you just find so much more. And like I said, I will email to you everything I found. So you'll get all the information. So I just encourage everybody and not to get rid of your medical doctor. Like many of my patients, so that go see me once a year, but also see their medical doctor. They go both. They do both things, but then they want to see if I see more, and I'll tell them what I see, and they go to their medical doctor, see what he sees. So, and that's a fine form of healthcare. But at least you're getting both answers. You'll have no surprise diagnosis like I did. Like I had a surprise diagnosis. I was knocked off my feet on Monday morning. So I never want anybody to have that surprise diagnosis. That's the whole reason why I love this blood work, because it shines a light on everything in your body to say, this is what you have, and we have to fix it.
Unfortunately, we are living in a society where we actually need a diagnosis
Yeah.
in order to think that we have to fix something. We don't just like, let me figure out how to fix the brain fog. No, we're gonna push ourselves until we collapse and then get the diagnosis and then start fixing things. That's the problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. And then, that's like my blessing is like when I was diagnosed, I live in New York, that. I lived in New York up until I was 34 years old. 39 is when I got the diagnosis, and I was enrolled in chiropractic school. Like I think it was like God's intervention because I ended up in chiropractic school, never thought I would do that. And that's when I got diagnosed. So like I had a lot of people to help me, so I was very blessed to have the best people help me and to unravel this thing with me and give me a direction to go in. And I know that's the biggest frustration in today's world is like having a direction to go in, and find and follow. But it's so hard because there's really nobody on board with it. It's just like nobody's following. It's, always a medication and diagnosis. And like you said, you need that to get the help you need or figure out what you have so that you can start your own journey of healing, which is great that you do that. So I just tell everybody, just do your research, right? That's what I did. Read the books of 100 years ago. You find a lot of answers there.
That's a good advice.
Yeah, just to see how doctors practiced back then. Because like in the 1940s is when it switched to the medical medicine model. So before then, any doctor before then had truth about healing and how the body heals itself. So it's just knowing that emotions play a part and that, biochemically there's a lot of interferences, DNA is important, just knowing that there are a lot of parts and pieces.
Is there any specific book you can recommend, listening, reading?
I always read Herbert Shelton, and it's a big thick book. But that's what I used to do. I used to sit and read for hours. When I was fatigued, I couldn't get past 11 o'clock in the morning. I was so tired, but I would sit in my bed and read. And I just read everybody. But Herbert Sheldon was probably the one I followed the most. But now there's so many books out there, anything on microbiome health is amazing, will help everybody because that's what has to be fixed is the gut.
Yes. And you are working on a course
I
to help
am.
people. Can you share more information about that?
Yeah, so I have my course coming out probably probably month or two. So it's all usually I work with people for 6 months because you really can't change much in 3 months. But in those 6 months, like every month, we would tackle a new topic. So that's when we'll talk about every single thing that could be going wrong in their body. So the course is 6 parts. So there's like a part for each part of that I work on with people. And I'm also writing a book. So the book is Believe, the course is Believe, and you really, honestly, do have to believe that you can heal your body. Your body's amazing, and that's what the story is about. No matter what diagnosis you have, you can make it better. If not reverse it, you can at least get healthier and feel better. I believe that. So that's kind of what I'm working on.
When is the book coming out?
I don't have a definite date yet. I'm hoping by the end of the year.
I can't wait to read it. I'm excited.
Lots of information there, lots of graphics, lots of pictures. I have a book now. It's just like it's literally the book I made for the 13 years of unraveling this disease in my body. So we're just kind of going to transpose that into a book form so everybody can share, benefit from it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for everything you do. It's
What you
I wish
do.
I find you much sooner.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know. Well, that's when I was like, you know what? I have to get out there and I have to start telling my story because somebody said something. I read it on Instagram actually, and he's like, if you died today, no one would have the knowledge you have in your head. And that struck me like, oh my gosh, I'm like so full of information. Like if I died today and nobody heard that information, that would be tragic. So I'm like, I just have to get it out there, and whoever can help, it will help. If it can't help somebody, it won't. But I'm just going to believe that it will and just get the information out there.
Yes, there are people who want to, there are people who don't want to get help, but there are a lot of people who really searching for this information. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
just get the information. Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
thank you. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording. Hold on. How do I